Since the dawn of cinema, filmmakers have utilized their talents to make moving pieces of art that tell stories. They use creative detail, lighting, and images that help set the tone for what a movie is going to entail. But there is one genre of filmmaking, one style that is mostly overlooked because of its non-linear storytelling technique, and that is surrealism. Surrealism is a 20th century avant-garde movement in art and literature that sought to release the creative potential of the unconscious mind, meaning strange images and shapes come together to tell a story, either through books, paintings, or more recently films. Of all the famous surrealist artists, the most famous is Salvador Dali. Dali's paintings are world famous because of the strange, dreamlike images that seem to tell thousands of different stories just by one still image. Sigmund Freud, a psychoanalyst, philosopher, and psychiatrist, frequently studied the nature of dreams and the unconscious mind that liberated imagination. Dali believed in the same principles. Dali once said that the only difference between a madman and me, I am not mad. While Dali was famous for stretching out the imagination through his paintings, once cinema was born, all of these artists were given a new medium to experiment with. Dali made a famous surrealist film called Un Chien Andalou, which in English translates to The Andalusian Dog. The film doesn't really have a plot of any kind, but characters interact with each other and bizarre things happen to them. The most famous scene concerns itself with the main character as her eyeball is sliced open with a straight razor. Director Luis Buñuel and Salvador Dali later chimed in that most of this film was based on dreams that both men had during their lives. That one shot of the lady's eyeball is one of the most disturbing and analyzed scenes in movie history. Of course, out of all the famous surrealists in cinema, none have been more famous than David Lynch. David Lynch is an American filmmaker who has always gone against the Hollywood grain. His films are purely an art form with multiple layers and meanings. Like paintings, his films can be analyzed and looked at in various ways, and because of the strangeness of his films, most critics regard him as being one of the most creative directors in Hollywood. Most of Lynch's films deal with the surreal style of filmmaking, but 4 movies stand out as being pure art forms. The first being Mulholland Drive. Mulholland Drive is one of Lynch's most celebrated films because of its uniqueness and its sheer brilliance on the Hollywood dream. The movie itself is a neo-noirish nightmare on the corruption of Hollywood dreams. It deals with strange characters and oddly put together scenes, as the main character Betty Helms, played by Naomi Watts, who has a lesbian relationship with an amnesiac woman, all set against the backdrop of Hollywood. The film deals with dreams and nightmares, and its conclusion is equally horrifying. Moving on to another David Lynch classic is the film Lost Highway, which stars Bill Pullman as a mechanic who brutally murders his wife. He starts leading a new life, and the movie deals with the neo-noir elements as well as psychological horror. The strange mystery man that appears throughout the film is never explained, but his constant presence in the film is a surreal way of showing the main character's psychological struggle. The film received critical acclaim, but also had its detractors as they felt the film was too confusing, bizarre, and morbid. Of course, one of Lynch's best films and most disturbing films is Blue Velvet.
She wore blue velvet
starring Kyle MacLachlan as a man who returns to his hometown, only to discover a severed ear in a field, which leads him to an investigation of a nightclub singer and a group of psychopathic criminals who have kidnapped her child. The film's imagery is bizarre, and the main criminal, played by Dennis Hopper, is completely despicable. He sucks on air from a gas mask before he rapes the nightclub singer, and the main character watches through the shutters of the closet. The film deals with psychological horror as well as surreal themes and images that confuses the audience. The film earned David Lynch an Academy Award nomination for directing and is widely considered to be one of the best films of the 1980s. Of course, out of all of David Lynch's surreal-style films, one stands above all, and that is his very first full-length feature, Eraserhead. Eraserhead is a low-budget, black-and-white horror film that deals with creatures, dreams, bizarre sexual frustrations, and alien babies. To this day, critics, fans, and myself included, have no clue what this film is about. It's just a bunch of characters and images thrown together in a weirdly edited way that tell a story that can take on hundreds of different meanings. The film is frightening, disturbing, and is still the weirdest film that I have ever seen in my career, and for that it is brilliant. Eraserhead is widely considered to be one of David Lynch's best films, and since its release, it has garnered a massive cult following. From the alien baby to the woman who lives in the apartment radiator, Eraserhead is the ultimate surrealist film and pays homage to the old Salvador Dali films and paintings of its time. Surrealism is fascinating. From the bizarre images to their multiple meanings, film has been a great medium for artists to explore their expressions of dreams, reality, and nightmarish fantasies. And for David Lynch, the most celebrated surrealist filmmaker, he has given us some amazing films to look at, ponder, and be disturbed by. After all, art is merely an expression of the mind. And if you look at the films of David Lynch, you are opening a door into the mind of a genius.